Hi, Mystery resurfaced here. Today I am going to explain an American science fiction comedy film called The Nutty Professor. How's the story goes on, watch ahead. The story is about an overweight and awkward science teacher named Sherman Klump. He is popular with his students and colleagues, however his awkwardness causes him problems. One morning, he strolls to his work at the Wellman College to see it being flooded by in excess of 5,000 hamsters. The pervasion turns so terrible that the rodents begin getting inside people's pants and into their sandwiches, causing confusion all over. The creatures are lab hamsters who were anyhow let free. On inspecting, it is found that the earlier day, Sherman's interfering tummy hit a button that opened the enclosures without him knowing. When the issue is contained, Sherman goes to his number one test hamster, Shelly, who is likewise overweight. Sherman and his group have been trying different things with a recipe that remakes the DNA of a hefty person to cause them to get in shape effectively and rapidly. Better believe it, the serum was tested on Shelly, and the outcomes say that the hamster lost 3 ounces in just a day. This indicates the proficiency of the item to figure out additional about its tendency. Sherman's lab partner, Jason, proposes increasing the dosage Shelly is given of. However, Sherman figures. Sherman is briefed that as a result of the episode, the science division has lost the majority of its financing. A man named Harlan is the school's final graduate, who is wanting to give $10 million to the school. The dean reminds Klump to be cautious with his experiments since they are not in the situation to lose their last graduate during class. Sherman's interfering stomach swipes on the board. Much to his students' entertainment, he sees it and laughs with them. Afterwards, a new professor named Miss Carla comes to welcome him. She is a science graduate, teaching a class across the lobby. Sherman is right away attracted by her charm and goodness. She informs she loves his work and has always wanted to meet him. Later on, Sherman meets his family for evening meal. Every one of whom are overweight. He notices that they have an issue. However, his dad feels honor in being fat and unfortunate, after seeing Sherman taking limited quantity of food from the table. His dad insists that he can do everything on the planet. However, shedding pounds isn't one of them. The man additionally has incredibly bad habit of passing gas to where he poops himself. However, that Sherman feels it totally disgusting. His dad does the system strictly and before his family when he passes on to clean his pants. Sherman's mom, Anna, notices that he is hurt by his dad's words. She cheers him up by claiming that he's delightful from inside out. Sherman is inspired by her words to ask Miss Carla out on a date. Just after, he goes to her home to do so. He's amazed to hear she'd accepts it. Right away, they chose to go to a location named The Scream on Friday. Sherman gets back with the greatest smile all over. He moves around, excited about at long last handling a date with someone he loves while watching TV. He falls off in fantasies about making out with Carla on an ocean side. While they are making out, she gets covered in the sand by his weight. Sherman awakens with fear to the host of the TV show cheering, "Yes, I can." He repeats the words and is inspired to get thinner without a doubt for the following couple of days, paving the way to the date. Sherman goes to Zumba classes, the exercise center and acupressure therapy meetings. While he actually has a great deal of work to do to get to his actual goal. The couple goes to a club on Friday and enjoys together for the early half of the day. Although an abusive comic named Reggie comes to the stage for a stand-up spoof show. He roasts the crowd's appearance consistently. When he gets to Sherman and the comedian gets an easy target, he pulls Sherman down to felt with his shame. To such an extent that Sherman gets teary. After the show following the terrible date, Sherman brings Carla back home to encourage him. She lets him know that he is a splendid man. Sherman thanks her and gets back, unsettled, alone and discouraged. He begins to rely on low-quality food, dismissing all the progress he has made in the exercise center for as far back as week. Finally, he snoozes off and has a bad dream about having a respiratory failure on the clinic bed. He turns into a monster and breaks out into the world. His single fart destroys the city and awakens him from the horrible dream. Sherman currently has had enough of his overweight. But he knows if he depends on exercise and quality food, he will surrender to his temptation every time, so he chooses to test his lab serum on himself. At 12 p.m. he goes to the lab, readies the medication, and infuses himself with it, and at first, the analysis is a disaster, as the PC errors and his pulse increases when Sherman drops. A message shows on the screen saying that the DNA reconstruction was a success. The following morning, Sherman awakens and is scared when he looks in the mirror. He has turned into a fit young fellow, not at all like himself from the earlier evening. He nearly cries on seeing that he went from cup C to cup A, and can't accept the obvious reality to see his private parts without precedent for years. Not able to control his bliss, he runs outside, yelling to the world to take a look at him. The first spot he goes is the shopping center spandex segment. As you do, he wears garments that praise his body and models before the mirror. The next day he is working in the lab when Carla comes searching for Sherman. She doesn't remember him due to clear reasons. Sherman too doesn't wish her to see at him, as the old overweight person that he was. Thus he imagines a random name and, Buddy Love, and presents himself as a lab partner. He also plays with her and asks her out on a date to the club. At first Carla is hesitant. Yet, she accepts to go when he perseveres. As they talk, Sherman's fingers begin to enlarge, demonstrating that he's going to retransform into his older self. He quickly pardons himself before she sees him exploding up. Later on Carla meets Sherman and informs him regarding Buddy's offer. Sherman urges her to go and pitches on how great of a man Buddy is. In the accompanying scene, Buddy shows up at the club in a sports car that he couldn't ever have had the option to fit in before the change. He and Carla entered the club together. Unsurprisingly, Reggie is invited to the stage for a show. This time, a certain Buddy hurls abuses back at the comedian, providing him with a painful but much-needed consequence before the night's over. They get into a yo mama joke fight that Buddy wins. An angry Reggie attempts to go after him for capturing everyone's attention, except banged into the piano. The crowd supports Buddy alongside a dazzled Carla. They share a kiss and a heartfelt second together. Yet, just after Buddy's lower lip begins to grow, he comes up with a reason about it being allergic response and rushes outside. Simultaneously, Sherman's lab partner, Jason, is at the bar. He sees a waiter dealing with Sherman's card. Yet, is informed that the card belongs to Buddy. He believes that Buddy took the teacher's card and follows him to his car. The Jason, amazed, he gets Sherman mid-change with a vigorously enlarged lips and growing legs when he is completely changed. The coworker recognizes what is happening. Later, Sherman is stuck inside the car, when he turns out to be too huge to even utilizing the door. The next morning, Sherman is extremely late for a class in light of a predictable evening. Every one of the students have left, yet an angry dean is hanging tight for him. He opposed Sherman about the sports car, which Buddy purchased on Sherman's workforce account. The dean pardons him for the extreme spend, yet scares him to choke him to death if he wrecks once again. He has set up a gathering among Sherman and the school's former student. Scarcely, Sherman needs to assure Hartley to support the weight reduction serum project that he is dealing with. Later, Sherman meets Carla and gets some information about the date with Buddy. She is a bit confused whether she likes him and is disturbed by his behavior. Sherman excuses the discussion and asks her out on a second date to dinner with his loved ones. How could he do that? She cheerfully accepts and meets them all at his parents' home. The family asks her nosy inquiries about their relationship, most of it connecting with sex. Carla is noticeably feels awkward, which includes when Sherman's dad frequently farts after the horrible dinner. Sherman strolls Carla home and apologizes for the benefit of his loved ones. Carla needs to find out about Buddy and is trusting that he will get back to her. Sherman understands that he must be with her as Buddy and changes into him once again. His associate Jason isn't happy about the change each time Sherman takes the serum. Buddy's testosterone level increases dramatically, making him rebellious unlike Sherman, and if this goes on for quite a while, Buddy could take control over Sherman's body as a renewed person. Jason attempts to stop him, yet Buddy deceives him and takes off. That evening, he goes on a date with Carla once more and takes her to a hotel. At the same hotel, Harlan is waiting for him to introduce the weight reduction serum concept for sake of the college. Carla believes he should have Sherman spot and test out the plan to the former student. Buddy does as told and makes sense of the serum for him, by sexualizing the young ladies at the eatery and flirting with them. He takes all the praise for Sherman's work, which Carla believes he's crazy, yet he didn't care about what she thinks, since all he needs is to be with the girls. Carla stomps off after he rejects her for other young ladies. The dean gives Sherman's post to Buddy and requests that he give a last demonstration for Harlan at the graduated ball the next night, yet he spends the rest of the night fiercely celebrating with a few ladies. By the morning, he is transformed to Sherman, and is clueless regarding the way that he is with the ladies on the bed. Buddy's presence is hurting Sherman's memory and intelligence, as if he has a different behavioral condition. Carla shows up presently and observes Sherman with the young ladies. She thinks Sherman is similarly faithless as Buddy, to the degree that both of them share ladies. Following that, Sherman goes to the workplace to figure out that the dean has terminated him and given his post to his creator's self-image Buddy. Sherman doesn't have the idea what he ought to do next at home. He mistakenly initiates the VCR and figures out that Buddy has left a message for him the previous evening. In the message, he showed Sherman his exhausting life and urges him to take the serum and change himself forever. The insult just urges him to destroy the film and at no point let Buddy surface in the future. He and Jason go to the lab and begin destroying all the serum tests. Sherman takes a sip from his dieting drink, unaware that Buddy had filled it with the serum. Realizing that he could be at risk for disappearing in view of the stunt, Sherman transforms into Buddy once more and rushes to the graduated class ball. After he leaves, Jason sees the PC displaying warning message that says Buddy's testosterone levels are at a deadly high. Assuming he takes the serum once more, he might kill Sherman forever, and Buddy will forever exist in his place. In between, Buddy makes a great entry to the ball, grabbing everybody's eye. He promptly starts to exhibit the impacts of the serum to the staggered crowd. His half-obstructed body shocks everybody as he is going to drink the second portion of serum to end Sherman forever. Jason shows up and stops him. Buddy's arm out of nowhere beefs up and attempts to choke himself. It just so happens, the arm is Sherman, battling for the privileges to his own body. In the long run, Buddy can't take the serum on schedule and changes once more into Sherman. Everybody in the crowd, including Carla and his parents, are in shock. Sherman makes sense of that the experiment was started to help people, however it transformed into something that it shouldn't have. He has found some peace with the way that he ought to recognize himself while trying to work more effortlessly for a better body, feeling that he has been a failure to everybody. He tries to leave, however is come by Carla. She requests that he advance, demonstrating that she likes him for his internal identity, not his body. In the last scene, we see them dancing the entire evening. Hartley chooses to give Sherman the funding, guaranteeing that he was moved by his speech, and even though the experiment fizzled, he is a brilliant scientist. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.